Chapter 2. Act 3, Revelation.
There were 2 males, 2 females that I recall. These were the humanoid beings that, could pass for humans if you saw them on the street, although their eyes were bigger than ours and really dark. But if they had sunglasses on, you would just think they were tall, skinny humans. First they put like this black vest on me. It was kind of like spongy and fastened with Velcro. And there was a beautiful, like bluebird blue plasma wall. It looked like, those water walls that you see in buildings, but plasma. While I was standing there, I heard like a revving kind of sound and some green came through. Then it went back to blue and we were no longer on Earth. We were in a different location. Then he produced this handheld sort of glass smart pad and he showed me pictures. They telepathically said that their mission is to probe our sun and solar system to measure the changes in the pattern of energy waves. He then showed me these images of people on Earth, a street in a city, and some people were just walking along, minding their own business, and then others, you could see these waves of energy coming from their bodies. And he said that to survive the coming planetary and solar system vibratory changes, that all humans must raise their vibration to survive this higher frequency vibration that will ultimately change all matter. Then he communicated that they build the small crafts in space at the mothership using pure energy at the microatomic level. And they convert that into a physical substance. And this microatomic energy enfolds the craft, and that makes it capable of utilizing different speeds in the wavelength of light. And that the craft can move from one point to another in an instant. There's no velocity, only a shift in frequency as it aligns itself with the wave energy of light. And this creates a shift in space-time, and that's the key to space travel.
Shortly after this whole event, Pam and I had a huge falling out.
Yeah, we dissolved our partnership.
All of a sudden, we didn't talk. It was over.
She was kind of coming from a different place.
My life had been so strange. I was going outside every night, and I was staring up at the sky, and I was really homesick.
I had that knowing, a lot of anxiety upon awakening in the morning.
Felt like I didn't belong here. I stopped investigating.
Many times I would awaken to find like a blue light.
And I noticed that there was like this SUV behind me. I just whipped that wheel and just cut across the interstate.
I did not think that it was a bad thing.
I question it. I don't have an explanation.
Chris and I emailed primarily. We were on more common ground.
Let's fast forward. I said, we can't let this see the light of day. She's like, what do you mean?
He and I seem to have a similar recall of who these beings might have been.
And then Chris is like, is it the angels? Is it Jesus?
I felt that it could have been a learning experience.
I blew it off.
That was my gut feeling. Humanoid type beings.
But in the grand scheme of shit, I don't understand it either.
At that point, I was telling myself that Ashley is basing her feelings on what the experience was that evening on a regression that she had had about 10 years previous, where she saw herself with reptilian body features.
I remember I went back to see Chris because I guess it had been a year. But when I went back to see Chris, because I felt like I needed to go back there and just walk the property. For some reason, I just felt like I needed to see it. So I went back and I kind of briefly talked to him, and I looked around and I walked the property with him, and we kind of conversated about things that we had, the after effects that we were experiencing. And I don't really remember his, but I do remember he said, you know, people I deal with would really love you. And I said, not on a damn bet, none of that. I don't care who you are. I do not want anything to do with that group of people.
At that time, I would have been 57. So I would just typically get up, prepare for work, feed all my cats, have some coffee, and head out the door. My day consists of managing medical publications for a clinical trial. My typical day would consist of meeting by conference call to go over publications, submissions, reviews, status, writing group, nominations, reviewing data. I like to constantly be doing something. At that time, of course, my husband was very important and still is. My stepdaughter, Ashley, who I've known since she was 7 years old, and she not only is my stepdaughter, but a very close friend, and at times my best friend, and still is. Well, at the same time that all of these things were going on within my professional career and my home life, Ashley and I had started a business around our paranormal investigations, and that began in 2008. It started as a result of our lifetime of experiences. The home that I live in and shared with Ashley for a few years when she was a teenager was highly active paranormally. And so we always shared that. So do you want me to talk about subsequent investigation that I did at his place? So I returned to his property in early September. It was on a Saturday of 2015. At that time, he had some other individuals that he had invited to the property as his guests, one being a book publisher that was interested in doing a story on his event in 2007, and her mother. So again, we began investigating out back after dark. The purpose was to pursue additional line of questioning on the June 2015 event. We had only just begun when his phone rang. It was a desperate call from a friend of his out of Philadelphia who knew I was going to be there. Chris had shared some of the information about me. He asked that we drop what we were doing and to pursue a line of questioning about the Pope and his visit to Philadelphia.
This person somehow has concerns for the Pope.
Okay. So after Chris had his event in 2007, he became quite well known and developed a network of people from within the government, within NASA, and with various military type groups, some retired and some still active. So the phone call came in that night from one of the people within the network, Larry. He was very frantic, saying that they had received, and by they, meaning James, who is retired CIA, John, who is retired colonel, I think, in the Army. The Philadelphia police chief, a couple of remote viewers working for the Department of Defense had all given the alarm that the Pope was in danger. Chris had previously described this network of people that he was involved with, and I had some communication by email with one of the fellows from NASA who had seen some of the footage from the June 2015 event. And I did a lot of work in those months between June and September. Robin Leach, the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous guy, his son, Rick Leach, he was adopted, and he always felt that his bio dad had been murdered. They found him drowned in a river in New Jersey. So he had asked me to do an EVP session about his dad. So I had already done some previous work with that group. So we switch our focus to the Pope and ask about who would want to cause harm to the Pope. So I imagine I gathered about an hour's worth of audio, close to midnight at this point. Again, I had a 3.5 hour drive back. So I knew I would not be able to listen to it that night. But upon arriving back home the next day, I began the review and realized I got some really good information that came through the spirit box. I contacted Chris. He contacted his network of people and got back to me and said that he would be in touch. Well, that group had flown Chris to Philadelphia, and he was in Larry's home and put me on a conference call with that group of people and the Philadelphia police chief. So I shared the transcript. I had written a transcript of the EVPs that I'd captured. They pulled maps to that area at Independence Hall. They asked if I would do a follow-up investigation that evening. So that evening I conducted a follow-up investigation and retrieved more information. So I heard that they were going to come in across the bridge from New Jersey.
Philadelphia Center City locked down.
Officials tell CBS News there is no...
From Sent, Thursday, September 24th, 2015, 10:42 a.m. To corresponding party names retracted: Pamela Nance, Christopher Bledsoe. Subject: Forward Report.
Good morning all. Final version. Best. Subject: Increased security concerns for papal visit to Philadelphia. Introduction: The following report is derived from non-traditional sources. It is provided solely to augment existing intelligence analysis. Content retracted. Agent familiarity with reports from the formerly classified Department of Defense Stargate program would be useful in understanding the general context in which data were derived. It is understood that there already exists an extraordinary intelligence effort regarding the papal security matter, and their findings are unknown to us. This report is forwarded in the event that any of the information may provide useful tips for the Pontiff's security as well as those attending the functions. Discussion: The genesis of this concern was spontaneously derived in early September, in which the initial source was alerted to a potentially serious incident during the Pope's visit while he is in Philadelphia. Content retracted. The source's precipitating event included a vision in which significant destruction from multiple explosions followed by chaotic reactions by people in the area. Content retracted. Of the 5 sources exploited, all suggest imminent danger to the Pope. Only one suggested the attack would not happen in the US. The specific area of most concern is in the vicinity of Independence Hall. That is derived from specific warnings about the Congress Hall building and the word Liberty, as the Liberty Bell is located in that area. That location also fits the scene described by the initial source. Several respondents reported people running in disarray and screaming. Red brick buildings were a common factor, and it is understood that there are many in the general area. It was reported that at least 4 people, possibly 5 or 6, would be involved. It is believed they enter the city on foot from the east. One source called them the Riders, which is thought possibly to be related to Ride the Ducks, a local sightseeing company that is located in very close proximity to the Liberty Bell. 2 sources mentioned a train station as a danger point, and one is located in that vicinity. In addition, there was a reference to Heads Up and the back door is vulnerable, but the meaning is unclear. Also noted were references to Highway 70 and the threat coming from the east. New Jersey Highway 70 is located directly to the east of Philadelphia and connects into I-76, which comes through the city. Content retracted. Additional attempts to explore the situation were conducted on September 23. Worth reporting was possible infiltration of security forces by perpetrators with explosive vests being worn underneath false police uniforms. We are aware that this correlates with published reports. This report included information that 4 men would arrive by a small pleasure boat at a dock under the Ben Franklin Bridge. Conclusions: while lacking the degree of specificity desirable, it does suggest that additional attention to security in the vicinity of Independence Hall is warranted. Clues are provided that may have more significance once correlated with your existing intelligence reports. This report is submitted solely to augment existing intelligence. Content retracted.
So I was back at work the next day, and Larry asked me if I was sitting down, and I was like, yeah. And he said, well, you have validated 2 of the top remote viewers from the Department of Defense.
And
nothing was ever in the media about anyone being arrested or stopped from some nefarious act. But I did receive a follow-up letter from a Secret Service agent.
Sent, Thursday, September 24, 2015, 2:54 p.m. To, corresponding party names retracted, Pamela Nance. Subject, forward.
Please read below. This is from Secret Service Special Agent L.
Larry, I hope that my agency treats you and your sources with respect and carefully considers all the information. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. It's always nice speaking with people who realize there is far more to existence than conventional wisdom would have us believe. I pray that the weekend is dominated by nothing but the positive energy the Pope is bringing with him. All the best. Special Agent.
did you process that at the time? And what are you telling yourself? Like, I went in to actually look into my stuff and I ended up engaged in this stuff.
I was just happy, it appeared I'd helped the Pope. How cool is that? Well, I always felt different. As a 5-year-old kid, I remember having the ability to go out into my backyard and sit on a bank and stare off into the distance at this mountain, Pilot Mountain, and I could actually leave my body, and it was like I was a bird just flying over the landscape and just zooming along, and then I could pop right back into my body, and thought I was like doing something I wasn't supposed to. I would sneak and do it. This was not something all children could do. I just knew that.
Welcome to Pilot Mountain, a quiet little North Carolina town tucked away at the base of its majestic namesake. Originally named after Tom's Creek in 1832, the folks of Pilot Mountain have watched it grow from a town rich in old folk traditions to one that is prosperous and progressive. Old buildings testify to the town's rich architectural and cultural heritage, enhanced by the picturesque setting of the mountain itself. People have lived around the mountain since the 1700s. It has been said that the town has changed so much, it hasn't changed at all.
Thanks to featured guests Pam Nance, Ashley Field, and Kathleen Marden. If you want to learn more about Pam and her work, including review footage on the Cape Fear investigation featured on this episode, visit her website at pamelanance.com. You can learn more about Kathleen and her many books, including Captured, The Betty and Barney Hill UFO Experience, at kathleenmarden.com. Also, big thanks to Doug Tuttle for the wonderful track Darkness Under Blight. If you'd like to hear more of his music, visit dougtuttle.bandcamp.com. Also, look out for an update. I'll be releasing many of the interviews around this episode as it was part of a much larger project. If you want more info now, go to patreon.com/TuiArts. All right, folks, thank you for listening. Stay strange, and I'll catch you on the next episode.